Welcome. My name is Bryson, and I'm the Director of Event Content and Client Experiences here at MIT Technology Review. I am super excited to be here today to give you a sneak peek of your next 2 days at our Future Compute virtual conference. As content director, I get to spend a good amount of time with all of our speakers getting ready for the conference. We talk about the issues we want to cover, what questions you, the audience, might have. And I get a real inside look at how these people think and how they work. It's really the highlight of my job here at Technology Review. So my plan for these next few minutes with you is to share some of the insights that I've gained talking to these incredible speakers and to give you a bird's eye view of the days ahead. So the challenge with this show, and frankly the challenge with all of our conferences, is that our goal is to pick the topics and speakers that will provide the most practical insights over the next 12 months. So ultimately, this show really is a prediction, our prediction as MIT Technology Review of where computing is going. So this year, we've chosen the theme of intelligent computing. And it's really the story of convergence of 3 existing technologies: AI, artificial intelligence; IoT, the Internet of Things; and 5G. So AI and IoT have been around for years. 5G is a little newer, but still something that's been available for a while. So it's not the individual technologies that are the stars of the show, but the convergence of these technologies. What we're seeing is more and more IoT devices capturing immeasurable amounts of data, of previously unmeasurable data. The volumes of data being collected are really beyond the comprehension of any individual or spreadsheet to analyze. So we feed it to AI algorithms to uncover the insights that are buried within. And then 5G has closed the gaps to that data, both in terms of speed of getting and grabbing that data, and the reach required the reach required to be able to grab that data at the edge. So it's this convergence that creates intelligent computing, our theme for the show. So the cloud, of course, bridges all these technologies for us. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the cloud, both the cloud today with people like Microsoft and Google, Amazon, IBM, and the cloud tomorrow, in the sense that we're going to peek into the worlds of high performance and quantum computing. So I'm super proud of the agenda we've pulled together this year. And so now let's dive a little deeper into each of our chapters. So in fact, there is your first insider tip. When we assemble this conference, or any conference for that matter, we think of the conference as a book. And books break down into chapters that address specific issues, and we do the same. So chapter 1. We always open every show hitting directly on the theme, and this time is no different. In Intelligent Machines, we explore 2 of the 3 key technologies: artificial intelligence and IoT, Internet of Things. We'll start with IoT and the data collectors. And for this, we've invited Bill Vass, VP of Technology at AWS, Amazon Web Services. So AWS provides a lot of the infrastructure that moves the IoT data to and from the edge. And Bill even talks about how the edge now extends to Mars, as Amazon actually has code running on the Mars rover. That same code, I'll have you know, that runs on your iRobot vacuum cleaner. So isn't that amazing? Then we'll talk to Alan Lee. He's the head of research at AMD. AMD, of course, creates the chips, primarily GPUs for now, that process all of this data and the AI algorithms. So I'm super anxious to hear his thoughts on GPUs and ASICs, application-specific integrated circuits, and what the next generation of AI processing power might look like. Then we're off to the clouds with Microsoft Azure CTO Mark Russinovich. As a sidebar, meeting Mark was a bit of a starstruck moment for me. In my early career, I did Windows-based development, and I used tools created by Mark and his company, SysInternals. Those tools made me look much smarter than I was, and it was awesome to sort of relive those moments with him. So nowadays, Mark's obviously on to much bigger projects, and he's going to talk about the cloud, where it's going, the edge, orchestration challenges, hyperscale, and defining deployment topologies for millions of IoT devices. He's going to expose some of the real technical challenges and how he's trying to solve them. Then we have Dominic Williams, Chief Scientist at Definity. You are going to love this session. We invited Dominic because we're worried. More and more, we all rely on the cloud to do business. But we found ourselves in a situation where the cloud is controlled by only a few key players, the Amazons, the Microsofts, the Googles of this world. And that concentrates a lot of power in the hands of very few. The internet was designed to be open to all. And Dominic wants to get us back to that paradigm. And finally, we talked to a guardian of the internet. As co-founder of Cloudflare, Michelle Zatlin is literally responsible for the protection of 15% of all internet sites. It's an amazing responsibility and gives her a bird's eye view of the attacks and the breaches and what steps are truly required to keep our data safe. I'll take a quick second here to thank our sponsor, Playground Global. We're going to meet their CTO, Peter Barrett, and the CEO of one of their seed companies, PsiQuantum. They're going to talk about their work in photonics and quantum computing, and that will serve as a great introduction to the final chapter of our first day, Quantum Computing, Intelligent Machines of Tomorrow. So we wanted to end the day with a look into the future. So while quantum machines are definitely a reality today, quantum machines that can outperform classical computers are not. And we have 4 different speakers to update us on where things stand and what we can expect in the near future. So up first is Honeywell's Chief Scientist, Patty Lee. She's going to help us separate hype from fact and talk about her work with trapped ion quantum machines. Then we're joined by Celia Merzbacher. She's the Deputy Director of the Quantum Economic Development Consortium, which is a consortium that sort of enables to grow the US quantum industry. The most memorable part of my conversations with Celia were around, of all things, standards for the quantum industry and how China has taken a very aggressive role in defining those standards. So I'm not going to steal her thunder, but that part of the discussion was eye-opening for me. And we're going to close the day talking to the dynamic duo of Alan Baratz, who's the CEO of D-Wave, a leader in quantum annealing machines, and Florian Neukart of Volkswagen. Together, they'll talk about quantum computing projects that are actually underway and paying off today. Florian has, as he calls it, a very non-sexy example of how Volkswagen is using quantum to optimize their painting operations. And what they're seeing is very significant and very sexy cost savings. So quantum may be just a little closer than you think. So that brings us to day 2. We have a big headliner kicking off our second day, the newly appointed CEO of IBM, Arvind Krishna. We're going to talk to Arvind about hybrid cloud and the challenges organizations face integrating their legacy on-premise infrastructure with modern cloud services. And hopefully we'll get some insight into what it's like to lead a 400,000 plus person organization, in an environment that demands speed and agility. Then we're going to talk about the third technology in our intelligent computing convergence theme, 5G. So first, Deloitte's Suzanne Hupfer. She's going to give us kind of an industry overview of what's going on in 5G. And then Shaili Shokla, who's the VP and GM of networking at Google Cloud, he'll do a great job of stripping the hype off of 5G. And he has a really interesting take that we have not yet discovered 5G's killer app. Then we're getting into hardware, the heart of computing. In our chapter on processing power, we're going to talk about high-performance computing and try to distill what innovations from the HPC and exascale worlds will trickle down and in which ways to our IT departments. So we start off with a veteran. Peter Ungaro was part of the Cray team acquired in 2019 by HP Enterprise. At Cray, Peter was saying the mission was to deliver the highest level of computing power to the very few that needed it. Now with HPE, he says that mission is completely flipped on its head, And it's all about delivering high-performance computing power to the masses. Forrester's Tracy Wu is up with an industry overview. And she's going to talk about some of the ways that HPC is being put to use today, from weather prediction to medical simulation. And that brings us to Amanda Randall from Duke University. Amanda is here to tell us the amazing story of COVID ventilators. So if you recall, with the shortage of ventilators in the early days of COVID, it was recognized that if they could be split, they could double, triple, maybe even quadruple capacity. But that theory needed to be proven out first. And Amanda did it by completing over 1 million hours of simulation time in a single weekend. The story is amazing and really will make you realize that high-performance computing impacts our lives in very real and meaningful ways. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with our closing panel. We've invited 3 top-level leaders. Archie Deskus is the Chief Information Officer at Intel. Lakshmi Hanspal is the Global Chief Information Security Officer at Box. And Chris Betty is the CIO, Chief Information Officer at ServiceNow. We're going to ask them how they weathered the last 12 months and what their plans are for the next 12. So the intention here is to give you a look kind of over the shoulder at the game plans of some of the key leaders charged with plotting the path forward in their organizations. Now, before I let you go, let me leave you with one last thing, the MIT Inside Track. So twice a day, we have quick 25-minute sessions that lean towards the sort of more educational and towards interesting R&D work going on within the walls of MIT here on campus. So each day we have one spotlight and one masterclass. On Wednesday, we start with a spotlight on AI energy consumption and work IBM Research is doing on in-memory computing, which greatly reduces the AI power the AI power requirements. Then we're going to dive into then just before we dive into our quantum chapter, Will Oliver, the principal investigator in the Engineering Quantum Systems group at MIT, will give us a masterclass on quantum so that everybody's kind of on the same page, before we jump into that chapter. On Thursday, we're going to spotlight MCUNet. MCUNet's a research project here on campus that's performing AI processing at the edge. So super fascinating because AI's power requirements are completely at odds with the typically limited battery power availability at the edge. And then finally, Youssef Marzouk, co-director of the MIT Center for Computational Science and Engineering, he's going to give us a masterclass in the intricacies of high-performance computing. And that's our show. I hope now you're looking forward to it as much as I am. So I'd encourage you at this point to go explore our conference website. Make sure to check out the library where we've posted speaker presentations and other materials, and fill in your profile. The site offers the ability for you to connect with other attendees. So, take advantage of the opportunity to meet some of the people facing the same challenges you are. I'm Bryson, the Director of Event Content and Client Experiences for MIT Technology Review. On behalf of the entire MIT Technology Review team, thank you for joining us for this conference, and we hope you enjoy the show.